The U.S. men's national team quite possibly played their best game ever last night in a 3-0 thrashing over Mexico in the semifinals of the Nations League. And the game had absolutely everything that you want from a Mexico-USA rivalry game. I mean, 3 goals from the U.S., 4 red cards, a whole bunch of fights. We had homophobic chants from the Mexican supporters. The game was supposed to go an extra 12 minutes of stoppage time. It was stopped at 7. The ref, quite possibly the worst ref in CONCACAF that I have seen thus far. The refereeing was honestly atrocious. It seemed so anti-USA last night. The Mexican team making fouls left and right, pushing our players down when they were going on runs. Seemingly in the beginning there was no yellow cards for Mexico. The cards would eventually come out, but the ref just absolutely, why he would even give 12 minutes of stoppage time in a 3-0 game of a semifinal makes no sense to me. The fact that Weston McKennie got a red card, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, blows my mind. So the refereeing absolutely atrocious, but the boys came out and they played, and you could see some grit in them, which I absolutely love for our national team. I mean, Gio Reyna absolutely phenomenal in the midfield. The boys did come out a little bit slow in the first 15 minutes, but then the left winger who plays for Chelsea, Christian Pulisic, when he throws on that U.S. men's national team, he turns it to Cristiano Pulisic. He had a great run early in the game. Gets Ochoa on the ground, empty net, misses it. I was pissed off. I was like, what are we doing here? Christian Pulisic has to put that into the back of the net, but then comes out, gets 2 goals, one late in the first half, and then I don't know what BJ Callaghan said at halftime. I was also very critical of him in yesterday's video that I posted. I didn't agree with the first time he's ever going to be a head coach being against our biggest rival in a semifinal, but I don't know what he told him at halftime. The boys in the second half came up fired up, absolutely giving it to the Mexican team. We just dominated them, honestly. Gio Reyna, like I said, beasting the midfield. Weston McKennie getting into fights. We had 2 major kerfuffles between both teams. One comes when Florian Balogun, I believe that's how his name is said, Balogun, something like that, who had an absolutely insane debut. His hold-up play, the runs that he made, the assist to Christian Pulisic. I'm going to call it right now and say that on Sunday, his very first U.S. men's national team goal is going to be the game winner that gives us the Nations League. So that's that, but big foul, added frustration from the Mexican side. He just kicks him in the back of the leg. I forgot who the Mexican player was, but then we got into a massive fight. Weston McKennie finds himself in the middle of 10 Mexican players, getting pushed, getting his shirt ripped off of him, and then he just kind of puts his arms out like, hey, get off of me. And I guess the ref took that as he was choking out a Mexican player, which makes no sense to me, so he gets a red card for that. Going to be a massive, massive loss in the final. But that image of the shirt ripped off and he's kissing the badge is going to be an image that lives on forever. Weston McKennie, absolutely love that guy. The fight, the grit. He had the Dos a Cero celebration with Pulisic where they played rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And then in the end, Weston went with scissors. Pulisic goes with rock. They put up Dos a Cero after Pulisic's second goal. Absolutely wonderful. Another guy who really impressed me last night, Chris Richards, the center back. The way that he passes and distributes the ball up the field, going from defense to attack, seemingly like that. And now that we've got some pace up there, it's just looking great. Pepe comes off the bench in a couple of minutes, scores a goal in 4 or 5 minutes on the field. Absolutely insane. Pulisic, we already talked about. Reyna, I talked about. Turner, I mean, 1 or 2 saves, wasn't really tried that much from the Mexican team. Turner, kind of a relaxing day in the back. Again, then we get into the 87th, I believe it was. Dest gets into it again with this Mexican side. We get 1 red card from Mexico, and there Dest was a little bit more on the offensive, choking somebody out. Gets a red card. A little bit of a lapse of judgment there from Dest. You'd like to see better in that moment. But the heat of the rivalry and the game that it was, he ends up getting sent off, so we'll be missing him for the final as well. So no Weston McKennie, No Serginho Dest. I'm assuming that Scally is going to play for Dest. This would be the time where New York Red Bull legend John Tolkien could be really used, but he's going to be in the Gold Cup lineup. He wasn't in the Nations League lineup, so we won't see him. So I believe that Scally will be there, and I feel like Scally could do the job against Canada. And then for Weston, I believe it's going to be De La Torre, maybe Brandon Aronson, but De La Torre is a little bit bigger in that midfield to give kind of that Weston McKennie feel. So yeah, absolutely, I loved it. I loved watching last night's game. I wish we could have came out with a little bit less red cards, but it is what it is. BJ Callaghan fired up the boys at halftime, but right at like the beginning of the game, I didn't even realize because I was watching the game. I only realized it at halftime. Gregg Berhalter being reassigned as coach of the U.S. men's national team. In yesterday's rant video, I said, hey, I don't even care who you guys want to be the head coach anymore to the Soccer Federation. Just put somebody there so we can get our leader. Gregg Berhalter is back. Gregg Berhalter back with the U.S. men's national team. I've got two major concerns, but taking out those two major concerns, it seems like the boys, notably Pulisic and Weah, were asking for him back. It seemed like he had the guys playing for him, playing for the crest. We did get out-coached in his last game in the World Cup against Netherlands, so hopefully we can clean some of that up. But Berhalter, again, highest winning percentage as a coach. He's proven that he can have success with this national team. He's proven over and over that he can beat Mexico, and now even more so. We are Mexico's daddy, Mexico's big brother. Mexico's got absolutely nothing on us. The rivalry, I'm assuming, is going to be with Canada here in the next couple of years because they seem like the more formidable opponent. But my two concerns with Berhalter, I really just hope that he and Gio Reyna can put everything that happened behind them, because the way that Gio Reyna played last night, he has to be a starter in our midfield. So I'm just hoping for the good of the team, they can put that behind them. He can get Gio Reyna in the lineup if he keeps playing the way that he does. Because honestly, if I'm Gio Reyna and Berhalter comes back and Berhalter's not playing me, what's the point of going to the national team? From Gio Reyna's perspective, in all honesty, what's the point of going to the national team if you're not going to play? But especially everything that he does at Dortmund, especially the player that he is. He showed it last night. He looked like he was a man on a mission. He ended up with a bloody nose. He's pumping up the crowd. All of the guys just seemed like there was so much grit and fight in them. I absolutely loved it. And then the second concern that I have with Berhalter is you got to bring Ricardo Pepi into this lineup. I mean, even if you don't start him, which I feel like some games he could start, bringing him off the bench, having that explosiveness off the bench, just like we saw last night, given it was a 2-0 game, but he still makes an amazing run, and not to mention a great pass from Serginho Dest for that third goal. I feel like Pepe needs to have a spot in this lineup. So those are my two concerns with Berhalter. My main issue with the U.S. Federation with this decision, I understand the whole history of the domestic abuse, and that's obviously like a very tough subject, but it seems like Berhalter and his wife went to counseling. Berhalter sought help. They made it work out. I feel like the fact that his wife came out and defended him and said, "Hey, this is a history. This is in history. This is in the past." I feel like it's not a big deal at this point, being that they have been married and then do now have 4 kids. My main concern with the Federation is why announce it last night at the time that you did. It's been announced that Berhalter's not even going to take charge of the team again until the 2024 Copa America, after the 2023 Gold Cup finishes up here in the summer. So I feel like there was no real reason to announce it, especially right before that Mexico game. I mean, they've taken so long with this decision to kind of figure it out. At least wait until the end of the final of the Nations League. Again, a little hypocritical because last night in the video that I did post, I said, hey, it seems like there's no urgency, just figure it out and just appoint somebody. But right before a rivalry match, maybe had we lost to Mexico, announce it right after that game and say, hey, Berhalter's coming back. But the fact that they announced it at the beginning of the match, it seems like they kind of took part of the allure that we beat Mexico 3-0, kind of took part of that away, because all you're talking about after the game in these post-game conferences and all that the players are being asked about is, hey, have you heard that Berhalter's coming back? How do you feel? I feel like it kind of took some sting out of the 3-0 win against our biggest rivals. So I don't completely love the timing of it. I'm okay with the decision, and Berhalter's back. The U.S. looks better than ever. BJ Callaghan seemingly fired up the boys at halftime, so it seems like he can quite possibly win us the Nations League and the Gold Cup, so that would be awesome for BJ Callaghan, possibly making a push and a run and a case for being an MLS coach here pretty soon. Miami did just fire Phil Neville, so maybe that's an opportunity that BJ Callaghan could be looking at. But man, last night was awesome. I love to watch it. I'm excited for the future of the U.S. men's national team. We finally have our guy. It's going to be Berhalter. We're sticking with Berhalter. We're backing him. So let's go out. Let's beat Canada. Canada, just real quick, Davies only played 15 minutes yesterday against Panama. So Davies could possibly be out in the final or not play as big of a role. Canada's going to give us a hard run for our money. They proved in the World Cup that they are a very strong team. Their coach came out and said that they're number one in CONCACAF, but I don't think he even believes that. They got slapped silly by Croatia in the World Cup. It's going to be a tough game. We have two major absences in our lineup, but man, what a win last night. Berhalter is back. Let's get BJ Callaghan to win us this Nations League, win us this Gold Cup. Berhalter comes back, wins us Copa America, and we're going to win the 2026 World Cup on home soil. Let's go!